The New York City Planning Commission has rejected a proposal by Park Commissioner Robert Moses to spend more than $7.5 million on 6 new recreation centers. The Commission acted unanimously to follow a recommendation of Budget Director Abraham Beam, disapproving the proposal. There'll probably be some fireworks before the sun goes down tonight.
Could you just explain, Mr. Fred Allen, what Treadmill to Oblivion means? Why you called it that?
Well, I called it that because any successful person, or especially a comedian who gets involved in the mechanized version of the entertainment world, has to compete with the machine. And, of course, he has to lose the battle because the machine is going to survive, and the comedian, I treat comedians because I know more about them and was formerly and am currently an alleged comedian.
But Treadmill to
Well, you're on a
Oblivion.
treadmill. If you're on, we did 700 and some odd hours during the 18 years we were on radio. And ultimately, the machine is still here, the microphone is still here, and I became ill. Not from reading the jokes, but I mean from pressure and work and sustained aggravation and things like that.
I wonder if you just read the last couple of lines in your book.
Well, that tells you, when a radio comedian's, whether or not he knows it, the successful comedian is on a treadmill to oblivion. When a radio comedian's program is finally finished, it slinks down memory lane into the limbo of yesterday's happy hours. All that the comedian has to show for his years of work and aggravation is the echo of forgotten laughter and some receipts from the Treasury Department.
But that's sad.
It is sad, but it's true. Everything that's true is sad, in a way.
Echoes of forgotten
laughter, that's true.
Well, we're back where we started, but we're honestly not the same. I mentioned at the beginning of this episode that when you run on the treadmill to oblivion, you don't always go where you want, but you get in shape doing it. When I began Breaking Walls 10 years ago, I envisioned it as a sit-down interview show. Over time, it slowly morphed into on-the-scene reporting, and eventually a history of U.S. network radio broadcasting. When I made this programming switch permanent in February of 2018, I didn't know how long I'd be able to keep it up. In many ways, these documentaries have been a means of teaching myself the business of broadcasting, basically in order to use the past to inform the present. They've also been about teaching myself how to be a good writer, sound designer, and narrator. My life has undergone many changes in the past 6.5 years. I now have paid work in the world of audio, thanks to Breaking Walls. This paid work is encroaching upon my time, and honestly, it's paid. It needs to be a priority. This is a long-winded way of saying that I need to take a break from the treadmill. So for the next 3 months, Breaking Walls is undergoing a change. I'm still going to put out new content, I promise. You'll still see an episode of 156 of Breaking Walls, which incidentally will feature shows from Halloween 1944. Rather than contain my narration and sound design as one giant documentary, there'll be standalone radio shows with the usual information written into the description of each track. I'm also going to continue to post Breaking Walls archives to YouTube and post additional content on patreon.com/thewallbreakers. On Patreon, the next episode will drop early as one giant playlist of shows. I've honestly been on the fence about how and when to pause. 80 months is a long time to run on any treadmill without a break. But given that this was the 10th anniversary of the launch of Breaking Walls, I think it's a good time to give myself that break. You never know, when you close one door, even temporarily like this is, what good things can come in through a window or a side. So my plan is to come back to the documentary-style episodes of Breaking Walls, New Year's Day, 2025. The reading material used in today's episode was On the Air by John Dunning, Gleason's Second Honeymoon by Pete Hamill, The Great One, The Life and Legend of Jackie Gleason by William A. Henry, Network Radio Ratings by Jim Ramsberg, as well as articles and features from Broadcasting Magazine, Ephemeral New York, the Library of Congress, Naval History and Heritage Command, the New York Times, and the Sydney Morning Herald. On the interview front, Don Amici spoke with Chuck Shaden. Hear this full chat at speakingofradio.com. Mel Allen and Edgar Bergen spoke to Dick Bertel and Ed Corcoran for WTIC's The Golden Age of Radio. Hear these interviews at goldenage-wtic.org. Norman Corwin spoke with John Dunning for his 71 KNUS program from Denver. Bob Hope spoke with Dick Cavett. Gene Tierney spoke with Mike Douglas. And Fred Allen spoke with Tex McCrary and Jinx Falkenberg. I would like to send the most sincere thanks to Chuck Shaden, the late Dick Bertel, the late Ed Corcoran, the late John Dunning, and Spurdvac. Without these people and their tremendous work, I would have never been able to produce a single episode of Breaking Walls. They have allowed me to use their material within these documentaries. I've used other material as well for the past 6.5 years. I've never been totally comfortable with that, to be honest, but I wanted to make these documentaries. They were unmonetized for the longest time. They're still not very monetized. So, thank you, Chuck, and thank you to these other gentlemen, of course, who are no longer with us, and of course, Spurdvac, the Society to Preserve and Encourage Radio Drama, Variety, and Comedy. I'd also like to thank Dr. Joseph Webb for opening this door for me into this world of radio preservation. Breaking Walls episode 156 will feature radio shows which aired on Halloween 1944. These radio shows will be posted in both the podcasting and YouTube feed, beginning October 1st, 2024. It'll be in one giant playlist on patreon.com/thewallbreakers the week prior. In the meantime, give Breaking Walls a quick rating on whatever platform you listen, especially iTunes. You can also join the Breaking Walls Facebook group at facebook.com/group/thewallbreakers. I will be just as active in that group as always. And support this show for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/thewallbreakers. Well, you've been hearing my voice on Breaking Walls radio documentaries for as long as you've been tuning in, basically. And I promise, you'll hear my voice on these again. Until then, my name is Jane Scully. This has been Breaking Walls episode 155. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Thank you very much.